Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Govea. I'm a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today there is some serious tension in the air. You can almost cut it with a butter knife. We've been expecting a Donald Trump indictment all day today. We were up early. We were chatting around with our members and we were saying, what the heck's going on out there? It feels a little bit too quiet. And that's because it was too quiet. In fact, the grand jury was supposed to be meeting today and indicting the former president, but that didn't happen. What happened? We don't really know. But the jurors in the grand jury were told to stay home. The whole thing was canceled, and nobody really knows why. So we'll go over to NBC New York. They're there in the hot zone, and we'll see what they have to say about it. We had some other reaction from Van Jones. He said this is very interesting. He's sort of getting castigated from the left on this. He said maybe it's time for sobriety and we don't actually indict a former president because that would be a catastrophe. But that's Van Jones. We're going to take a look at what Bragg's office says over from the DA's office. Reaction from the media on CBS. They were talking about this and sort of what a terrible witness Michael Cohen is, the person upon which this entire thing is based. We're going to go back down memory lane. Thomas Massie, one of our favorites here, has this clip that he shared today about a prior exchange between him and Michael Cohen. We'll listen to that. Ted Lieu was on the House floor. He was very upset about the Republicans. He says, these Republicans are just a big joke. And now they're using the government, which is the House committees, to go after Alvin Bragg's office. We read that letter earlier this week. We'll listen to Ted Lieu. And Cohen made this very interesting statement about Donald Trump. He said, this is how you get him. And I wanted to play this clip because, man, he's just bubbling with animosity. You can tell this guy is scorned and he's just waiting for an opportunity to get his revenge on Trump. Now, we spent some time on some of these clips. I wanted to string these together because every day that goes by, this guy turns into a bigger and bigger liar. It's almost unbelievable. But this is Michael Cohen. There were several clips from his former advisor, not actually a former lawyer, as we'll see, but Costello. We've listened to some of these clips before, but I want to string together just a couple pieces here, sort of like a math equation, and show you what Cohen said, what Costello said, Cohen told him. And then when Cohen was saying that he didn't waive his privilege to allow Costello to go talk, Costello brought out the waiver. We talked about that yesterday, but I actually dug up the PDF. And so we'll go through that briefly because Cohen, it looks like, waived everything. And Robert Costello is perfectly within bounds to talk about it. So CNN is coming out now. Cohen is probably going to be silenced for the foreseeable future. Somebody told him to shut up because he's wrecking their prosecution. And that might be the reason why the grand jury was delayed today, because the testimony has just been so damning against their case. We don't know. We'll listen to Donald Trump, his lawyer, react. We've got Lindsey Graham, who had something to say about it, along with Senator Ted Cruz. And there's this interesting clip of the Mexican president, AMLO, who is out really mocking the United States on a whole slew of issues, ranging from Julian Assange all the way up to, guess what? That's right, prosecuting your political enemies in the United States of America. For the people in the White House and the people on the blue team who are so enamored by whatever the world thinks about them, they say, we're not respected under Donald Trump. And evidently we're not respected, I guess, because there's adults in the room who can't manage an exit from Afghanistan, who can't actually stand by a hard line when it comes to Russia, who really have failed on basically everything else they've ever touched. They're now getting mocked openly by our neighbors to the south. So we'll talk about that all in the first segment. And then, my friends, we're going to turn our attention over to the Proud Boys trial, day 42. And today is going to be a spicy one. All right. I can just tell you that right out of the gates. Not necessarily because of the testimony. The testimony is going to be quite short. In fact, it's just about 100 tweets, courtesy of our friend Roger Parloff. We're going to check back in with Eddie Block, his real good boy, canine friend, service dog, Donald J. Trump, was there in court with them. You can see the photograph there today. We'll go through all of that. Now, we'll also go through this explosive motion that just hit the docket. It came in from Zachary Rehl and Carmen Hernandez, and it is explaining what it sounds like might be a confidential human source that was embedded with the Proud Boys while they were working with the defense team during the pendency of this case. Okay, I know you're saying, what did he just say? He couldn't have just said that. He couldn't have just said that the motion is claiming that there was a confidential human source that was spying on the defense team. Can't possibly be, right? Can't possibly be. No, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way, not possible. All right, but hold on, put a pin in that. Okay, we'll come back to that in about, I don't know, 75 minutes or so. All right, it's a motion. The government is going to respond to that motion tomorrow morning. Okay, the judge is taking this allegation extremely serious and said, you guys better respond, government, by 9 a.m. tomorrow. All right, so like that's how serious it is. Didn't even give him any time. It's a serious, serious allegation. And so we'll save that for the end of the program. And so, my friends, as you can see, if you want to be a part of the show, the best place to do that is by going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. This is our amazing community. We do member-only streams. We had a beautiful one this morning where we talked about the headlines, talked about World War III. We talked about Pootie Poo and President Xi skipping around like schoolgirls, infatuated with one another during their exit. And it's a lot of fun. So check it out at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And let's just say thank you to our sponsors right now, our tremendous friends over at Field of Greens, which is the place that you'd like to go if you're trying to lose some of those leftover pandemic pounds. I mean, how sick are you of all these ads for weight loss pills and fad diets? It's March already, and they're still all over the place. They don't work, but you know what does? Eating five healthy servings of fruits and vegetables a day. You do that, and the weight would probably just fall right off. But look, vegetables, not a fan, and fruit, who's got time to prepare that every day? Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula, very specific fruits and vegetables that you're not going to find in any other product. We know that proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you can burn calories faster and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you'll look healthier and feel healthier, but the better proof is going to come at your next doctor visit when he says, wow, you've lost weight, whatever you're doing. Keep it up. And so let's get you started. Go on over to fieldofgreens.com, enter code Robert, and you check out. And you're going to save 15% off. It's an amazing product. I have mine right here. Mama Govea has hers, and it's been very enjoyable for me to say, Mom, eat your vegetables in the form of Field of Greens. And of course, she is abiding. So go to fieldofgreens.com, get your 15% off with code Robert at checkout. And now, my friends, let's get right into the broadcast. Donald Trump indictment coming soon, or is it? We don't really know. It was supposed to come today, Wednesday, a historic indictment, something that we've never seen before in this country. They were putting up bike racks all over the place in New York City for the FBI agents to push over when they decided to insurrect another building. And suddenly we woke up today to try to piece together what's going on here and what happened. Oh man, canceled. That stinks. I wonder what happened there. We're going to turn our attention over to New York and see what they have in store for us. They're telling us that the jurors were sent home from NBC New York. They tell us Manhattan DA tells the Trump grand jury to stay home. Sources say the reasons are unclear. The Manhattan DA has told the grand jurors weighing charges against Trump to stay home on Wednesday. Oh, man. Did it snow there or something? What happened over there? Rather than reconvene as planned, DA Alvin Bragg said, you guys better be on standby for Thursday. Now, yesterday, we heard that Robert Costello was in the grand jury room, and he was openly sharing information they weren't even asking him about. He was saying this whole thing is a total scam. Cohen is totally unreliable, has no credibility whatsoever. He's basically a liar. He's a convicted perjurer, and you need to know what the truth is. So did that rattle the cage? Was the Jenga thing already almost tipping over and Robert Costello came and pulled out the last block? We don't know. The reason for this delay is unclear, including whether it may involve another potential witness to be heard. On Monday, earlier the week, grand jury, which had, according to multiple sources, been prepared as of Friday to issue an indictment decision as early as this week, heard from Robert Costello, who we're going to hear a lot more about. We actually have his PDF that was signed by Michael Cohen that waived any attorney-client privilege. They heard from Costello. He sought to discredit the key witness, Michael Cohen. They were scheduled to reconvene today. So NBC reached out. They said, hey, Alvin, what's going on over there, my man? Are you getting a little cold sweats at night because of what you're about to do? But his office declined to comment later in the day, saying it couldn't speak on grand jury matters, obviously. Now, NBC News confirmed that prosecutors were upset with Cohen's appearance before the grand jury, and they told him to shut up. And we're going to hear that from CNN themselves. They reached out to his attorney to tell Cohen that he should not appear before the panel again. Why? I thought he would do everything. Wasn't this Trump's consigliere? Wasn't this his right-hand man, his bag man? Proceedings obviously have been shrouded in secrecy. Latest developments come 5 days after Trump told everybody to get out and support him. Unclear if any organized protests will matriculate, but we haven't seen any thus far. So very strange. What a weird day. Why was all of this supposed to come down today, crashing down? NYPD, they're all putting on their suits today. They're kissing their wives goodbye. This could be it, honey. This could be it. It could be my last day. Those insurrectionists are very agitated. Or not. I don't know. Are they going to prosecute him? Maybe they won't. In fact, Van Jones is hinting that maybe this is an appropriate time for sobriety. Maybe there's a reason historically we don't prosecute former presidents and current presidential candidates. I know a lot of people in America and throughout the world have TDS level 11 out of 10, and they can't really recognize this concept. But when you zoom out historically on all of the other presidents and all of the other individuals in our country's history that could have potentially been prosecuted by some partisan hack somewhere and weren't, that's not by accident. There were other presidents who did other things that other people absolutely detested. As angry as everybody is over Donald Trump, the country has been through more difficult times, I would say, than his presidency, for as hysterical as they are. So to just say that the law is the law and we just prosecute any speeding ticket regardless of the consequences seems to me to miss the long arc of history, which educates a little bit more cautiously than that. There's a reason why these prosecutions don't happen, because it wrecks a lot of things. Now, Van Jones recognizes that, and he's on with CNN and he's telling everybody, hey, why don't you put the TDS juice down, stop guzzling this back shot after shot, day after day, and why don't we address the situation with a little sobriety out there?
I think that the heat is on this DA. I think he's going to make a very sober decision, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't step back from the brink. I just think that the reality is he's got to make a sober decision now. I agree with David. A charge like this, a porn star payoff 7 years ago, somehow tied to the election, but not really. It doesn't seem like the right way to go.
Not the right way to go. And you heard him there in that first clip saying, why don't you step back from the brink?
I think he's going to make a very sober decision, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't step back from the brink.
Wow. So they know, because their side is going to be in the crosshairs next. You think that Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, although she was never the president, or it never will be, or could it be Obama or any of the other individuals, right, who might come down the pike, who could be in the crosshairs politically of whatever the next attorney general wants to do? If that's the precedent that we set in this country, where whoever is the first to capture the flag of the Department of Justice gets to dictate the judicial standards across the country and prosecute all their political enemies because it's now appropriate, that's not good. And the Republicans, I would expect, would do the same thing. So Bragg's office did respond. Yesterday, we talked about a letter that came out from the House of Representatives. They sent that over to the DA's office, and they responded to the letter. Alvin Bragg said, hey, this is not a political prosecution. He says, what are you talking about? I'm a great prosecutor. I love prosecuting crime. This has nothing to do with me being a political hack. No. They issued a statement in response to Congress. They said, we're not going to be intimidated by attempts to undermine this justice process, nor will we let baseless accusations deter us from fairly applying the law. Is this a joke? Are they mocking us? What are they talking about here? They've had to twist themselves into pretzels 35 times. Everybody is saying this is nuts. Turning a misdemeanor categorized crime into a felony just to sort of try to eke this one past through the statute of limitations. It's not fairly applying the law. It's going to dig for some basis for this. Everybody is saying it. Even the left attorneys are saying it. They say in every prosecution, we follow the law without fear or favor to uncover the truth. Oh, gosh, these prosecutors. They all talk like this. Get a life. Our skilled, honest, and dedicated lawyers remain hard at work. All right, look. Your local DOJ is no different from your local MVD. They're giant government bureaucracies. So we've got House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan and others are angry, and they're going to be firing back. And we'll see what they do from the DA's office. Now, we have reaction on this. Even over at CBS, this woman, Rikk Kleiman, she was explaining that this is a strange case, saying that Michael Cohen is a terrible witness. He's totally unreliable, has no credibility whatsoever. And why is he being used as the centerpiece, as the key witness for the entire case?
However, is it unusual in 2023 to look back to a case in 2016 when Michael Cohen, the main person who is the witness in this case, pled guilty in 2018?
Perjury.
And keep in mind, the Southern District of New York, the federal government, passed on going forward against Donald Trump when he left the presidency. The Federal Election Commission passed. So now we have a new sovereign in the state who says it doesn't matter.
None of that matters. I'm smarter than everybody else. He wants to make sure he gets reinvited to all the cocktail parties. And they know that if he doesn't prosecute Trumpo, then it's going to be the end of the career. I mean, that's basically why he got elected. Him and Tishy, the tishiest of all the Tishy Jameses. That's why they're there. So we've got another clip I wanted to share with you. Representative Thomas Massie dug this one out for us. And he said on Twitter today that Cohen was one of the least credible people that he has ever interviewed, ever. And I want to play a little bit of this so we can get our bearing straight about who this person is and how he communicates.
Mr. Cohen, can you just clarify, did you say that at times you would do what you thought Mr. Trump wanted you to do, not specifically what he told you to do?
At times, yes.
So you just went on your intuition?
I don't know if I would call it intuition as much as I would just say my knowledge of what he wanted, because it happened before. And I knew what he had wanted.
Does a lawyer have a duty to provide his client with good legal advice?
Yes.
Were you a good lawyer to Mr. Trump?
I believe so.
When you arranged a payment to Ms. Clifford, you say in your testimony, I'm going to quote from your testimony, that you did so, quote, without bothering to consider whether that was improper, much less whether it was the right thing to do. You said that, unquote. That's your testimony today. You said you didn't even consider whether it was legal. How could you give your client legal advice when you're not even considering whether it's legal?
Kind of bad lawyering there.
I did what I knew Mr. Trump wanted. This conversation with Mr. Trump started.
I didn't ask whether you're a good fixer. I asked whether you were a good lawyer.
Sometimes you have to melt both together. I needed to, at that time, ensure and protect Mr. Trump.
So,
and if I put my, which I'm clearly suffering the penalty of, I clearly erred on the side of wrong.
So you feel like without bothering to consider whether it was proper, much less whether it was the right thing to do, by ignoring any conscience, if you have one, that you were protecting Mr. Trump.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't understand.
You feel that was how to protect, as his lawyer, you feel that you did a good job. You said you were a good lawyer, right? Is that correct? Being a good lawyer? To not even consider whether it's legal or not?
Legal advice.
I didn't work for the campaign. I was working and I was trying to
I didn't
protect
say anything
Mr.
about
Trump.
a campaign.
I
said
sat
Mr.
with
Trump.
Mr. Trump, and this goes back all the way to 2011. This wasn't the first scenario with Ms. Daniels.
Let's go back then.
So my point is, this was an ongoing situation. It
Okay.
didn't just start in
Right.
October.
I want
Please,
to go
you have
back.
to let me finish.
Well,
It didn't start in
Let me
October. It
ask you
started
specifically
many
on that.
years earlier.
when were you disbarred?
Yesterday, from what I read in the paper.
Yesterday. When should you have been disbarred based on the legal counsel you were giving your client?
Asking your client to break the law, giving your client advice that is literally breaking the law so that he gets charged with crimes. That's not lawyering. What? It'd be like somebody came to me and said, Rob, can you help me with this criminal charge? And I was like, yeah, you should just go commit more crimes. That's a good solution.
I don't have an answer for your question.
How long
course you
were
don't.
you counsel for Mr. Trump?
Since 2007.
When is the first time you gave him bad legal advice or failed to inform him of his legal obligations, as you testified today you did in the case of the payment to Ms. Clifford? When was the first time you did that? Would that qualify for disbarment?
I don't know, sir. I'm not the Bar Association.
Well, you have to comply with the
I think you
ethical rules. You're a
should
lawyer.
Consult with them maybe occasionally on some of these things.
Well, there's no point now. I lost my law license.
That is true. There is no point now, Michael Cohen. You have lost your law license, indeed. And you were also convicted of perjury. So nobody should really take your word now, should they? Because you have been convicted for dishonesty. So here we have another situation where Ted Lieu is a Democrat. He's in the House of Representatives. He is responding to some Republican action from the House committees that have sent letters over to Alvin Bragg's office saying, we want to know what the heck you're doing here. Are you using federal funds? Are you interfering with federal elections? We've heard that how often? This is a domestic interference with an election. So Congress says we've got the authority to go in here and investigate this. Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, they took those rules to the cleaners, man. So they used those any which way they possibly could. And we're going to do the same thing now. And Ted Lieu is very unhappy about this. And so he was out in front of Congress today explaining how reckless and what a rampage these Republicans are on.
So in addition to doing stupid stuff and trying to pass extreme bills, Republicans
stupid
have
extremists
gone on a rampage.
That's our Congress. Hey, you stupid extremist doo-doo heads over there.
About what the Manhattan District Attorney is doing without even knowing what the purported charges are or what the grand jury evidence is. What if the evidence is overwhelming? What if it's rock solid?
What if it's not?
That an American by the name of Donald Trump committed crimes.
What if it's not?
Republicans know? They don't. And you know what else?
We have a pretty good idea. If the star witness is Michael Cohen and your entire side is rounding up for this guy, we know it's probably a pretty weak case. You know how else we know, Ted? Well, the FEC declined it. The DOJ declined it. Everybody else has declined it up until this very moment when seemingly it's convenient. You know, all these other horrific stories are coming out about Joe Biden. We can't even keep up with all of them. The world seems like it's on the verge of a banking crisis. We've got the Axis powers aligning themselves with President Xi and Putin. We've got all of this scandal coming out about Joe being paid millions of dollars or his family being funneled millions of dollars from the Oversight Committee, the Treasury SARS, the list goes on and on and on. And here, you know, they're calling each other doo-doo heads and saying that this is potentially a huge deal, right? We've got all of this other stuff. We know it's not a huge deal. We know they're turning it into a political spectacle so that we can maybe focus on this instead of some of the other things. This is our Congress.
What else they cannot explain? When Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, was arrested, indicted, convicted, and went to prison for participating in an illegal hush money payment scheme to Stormy Daniels, not a single Republican leader complaining now said a thing about what happened to Michael Cohen.
Well, that's because he committed the crime. Hello, Ted. Hello. That's because he did it.
They cannot explain why they are holding Donald Trump to a different standard.
I just did that like 5 times. All right. He's obviously he needs somebody to explain it to him with coloring books and crayons. But we're not going to do that here. We've already explained it. Now we have another clip from Michael Cohen talking about Alvin Bragg. And this one, I think, is the same sort of flavor that we got from Ted Lieu. Obviously, there are many layers that happen here, and you can go through, and we've already talked about the mens rea and the actus reus and who did the thing and who thought of doing the thing and the intentionality behind committing a crime and the action that accompanies the mental state when committing a crime, and dissected all of that. But really what I think a big part of this is just pure animus, right? It's political prosecution. It's people who just want Trump any way they can get him. You heard Ted Lieu say, hey, if we prosecuted Michael Cohen, then he should be in jail. And he went to jail. Why shouldn't Trump be in jail? What's good for Michael Cohen is good enough for Trump, right? You're going to hear that same argument from Michael Cohen here. And I want to sort of break this clip down because it's a wild scene. This is Michael Cohen, a man filled with animus and rage, wants Donald Trump removed, eliminated in any way he can get that done. And it's teeming out of his pores in this clip. And he's bitter because he knows he lied and he had to go into custody and serve his time there. And he wants Donald Trump to suffer the same fate. But that's not how the justice system works. Just because you're angry about your criminality doesn't mean you get to impose your criminality onto other people and transfer the criminality to them. That's crazy. But that's essentially what Michael Cohen wants to do. And in this clip, you can see it bubbling out of him, out of every orifice.
There is only one set of laws in this country. What affects Rev you and I needs to affect somebody like Donald as well. No one is above the law. So if it was good enough for me to go, it should be good enough for him. And
that's not how this works. You committed the crime. You were the lawyer who was making all the moves, conducting the payments, transferring the funds, negotiating the deal. And we've got a statement from Robert Costello that says that you told Robert Costello that Trump knew nothing about any of that, right? This was a transaction between a billionaire and the people who work for him to deal with the other people he's got to deal with. That's it. But now, because he was prosecuted for violating his ethical rules, for violating the law, for doing a disservice to his client, Trump should automatically be implicated. That's not justice. That's not prosecutorial discretion. That's bitterness. That's revenge. That's retribution. That's not how the system works.
a lot of people, today I was with a friend of mine for lunch. Super, super bright guy, well-educated.
Very smart.
And his comment to me was very similar to what the question that you're asking. How is it that this ticky-tock type of a case is going to be the first impression that we have as Americans for a president to be indicted? First time in U.S. history.
Yeah, so his friend, much smarter than him, was sitting there at lunch. He's saying, are you serious, you idiots? This is what you're going to do? This is going to be the first case of first impression, an old case from 2016 that involves a payoff to a porn star. You're serious right now? You're going to shatter hundreds of years of precedent and the avoidance of political prosecutions in America for this from Alvin Bragg, a district attorney's office in New York, for somebody whose accomplishments are very, very minor relative to criminal justice in New York. Just ask the citizenry there. Many people, Elise Stefanik and others, have said that it's a disaster zone. So if Alvin Bragg is going to focus all of his energy, if you divided it up into a pie and focused it all on Donald Trump, that's a pretty big failure. And Cohen is saying, his other friend is saying, this is it. This is the big thing. And Cohen's going to explain why his friend is wrong, I guess.
Again, the answer is the law is the law. The same way under the Al Capone theory. They couldn't get him for murder, racketeering, extortion. They couldn't get him for bootlegging or any of the other crimes. They got him for this because rest assured, Alvin Bragg is not making a mistake. And the team that is behind him, the team that is putting this case together, they're very competent. They know all the facts. Now they could attack me and talk about credibility, which is something that you're seeing on a lot of the other stations.
Let's back that up. He says they are smart, they are competent, and they are going to be attacking his credibility because, as we said, he is a convicted perjurer, and he's somebody that his own legal advisor, Robert Costello, said he's a liar, called him directly, basically a liar, said he's being dishonest and they're not telling the truth. But if you back that up, did you hear what he said about this Al Capone thing? They couldn't get Al Capone on any of the other crimes, right? They couldn't get him. So they got him on the tax evasion charges. You see this? That's what they want. They know that they don't have him on anything. Setting aside the Al Capone example, going into the history of all of that, right? In this situation, they're saying we can't get him on the Trump-Russia collusion. We can't get him on the confidential documents. We can't get him on J6. We can't get him on, insurrecting the transfer of power. We can't get him on anything. So they're going to get him on a porn star thing. And he's saying, I guess that's what we have to do. It's worth it. We had to do it with Al Capone too. And Trump is like a mob boss. And so if we have to take that action here, we'll just do it, damn it.
For a president to be indicted, first time in U.S. history. Again, the answer is the law is the law. The same way under the Al Capone theory. They couldn't get him for murder, racketeering, extortion. They couldn't get him for bootlegging or any of the other crimes. They got him for this because rest assured, Alvin Bragg is not making a mistake. And the team that
they know their case is so garbage. He knows it's so garbage. He's like, this is all we've got. It's the only thing we can do.
That is behind him. The team that is putting this case together, they're very competent. They know all the facts. Now they could attack me and talk about credibility, which is something that you're seeing on a lot of the other stations. That's okay. Very much like when I went and I testified before the House Oversight Committee, I come with the facts. I come with the documentary evidence. It's irrefutable.
Is it? That's funny because we have some interesting documents that we are going to get to right now. In fact, this one, which is Cohen's waiver of his attorney-client privilege that came right around the same time he executed his plea deal where he pled guilty to perjury. So let's go through this in strong detail because there's a lot to unpack or string together here. But you remember Robert Costello. This was a legal advisor who was doing work in contemplation of full legal representation with Michael Cohen. So Trump has lawyers. Cohen was working for Trump. Cohen also had another lawyer, because lawyers sometimes need lawyers, to say, can I do this thing for this person? And so Cohen hired Costello or was working with Costello in some way, shape, or form. Now, I want to just play a short portion of this because this was what Robert Costello, somebody who is in the know, somebody who has a close relationship with Cohen, or at least was exchanging emails back and forth and talking about Trump. When he was coming out of the grand jury proceeding, he got asked a question that sounded like this.
By anybody's standard. That's pretty. I have a statement here. I'll give it to you people. Yeah.
Paid Stormy Daniels with his own money, not at the behest of Mr. Trump.
That question was, Cohen paid Stormy Daniels with his own money, not at the behest of Trump. Is that right?
That's what he told us.
That's what he told us.
Not his own money, money that he borrowed pursuant to a HELOC loan. Yeah. And why did you take the loan, Michael? I wanted this secret. I didn't even want my own wife to know, much less Melania Trump. You know?
So that's what Cohen told Costello. And we're sitting here wondering, wait a minute, if they're lawyers, how is Costello talking about all that stuff? That doesn't make any sense. So if Cohen is telling the grand jury that he was directly instructed by Trump, and Cohen is also telling his lawyer that Trump has nothing to do about this and knew nothing about it. In fact, my wife doesn't even know about it. I got a HELOC. I wasn't instructed. I was never communicated to by Trump to do any of this. Then one of those has to be a lie, right? Both of those can't be true. So that was the clip from Costello after the grand jury proceeding. And we're thinking that this maybe was the bit of evidence that shattered this whole proceeding. We were expecting an indictment today. We were going to be streaming all day to cover it, but they didn't do it today. Why? Well, the last person we know that testified that we can identify is Robert Costello. And after he testified, we already heard from Cohen. He's making the waves, hitting the rounds on all the cable shows. And he was explaining that I didn't waive my privilege. And here's what he said.
If in fact that I waived attorney-client privilege, I'd like to know when, how, where. I don't recall waiving anything, but again, this is...
We can show him the date exactly because it's right here in the documents. It's actually something that he had his hands on. We're going to go through this in a bit more detail, but the when, the where, the how, February 7th, 2019, New York, Southern District of New York, signed by Michael Cohen. Michael Monaco was his lawyer, attorney for Michael Cohen. So he does this thing, the where, the what, the when, the how. We'll go through this in one quick second, but I wanted to show you that's what he said.
If in fact that I waived attorney-client privilege, I'd like to know when, how, where. I don't recall waiving anything, but
You signed it.
again, this is I don't know what he's talking about.
And tonight,
Now, this is Costello. He was on with Tucker, and he holds up the document that I just showed you.
he was on another station denying that he waived the attorney-client privilege. Here it is in writing.
Yeah.
And that's his signature on the second page. So
That's unbelievable.
I guess he didn't know that. And
No, he had no idea that he signed it, forgot all about it, or the truth is he's just a liar. Holy moly. Look at this thing. Entered in, titled a waiver, 18 CR 602, United States of America versus Michael Cohen. I, Michael D. Cohen, hereby declare I am the defendant in the case. I was previously represented by a lawyer called McDermott, Will, and Emery. They were investigating me in the case that preceded this case, as well as in other investigations about Russian influence in 2016. During the period when I had that law firm, I was approached by Robert Costello, the guy we just heard from. He's over from another law firm. Costello sought to represent me in connection with the SDNY investigation. And this is Cohen speaking. He says, and he presented me with a retainer agreement. He gave me, hey, do you want to enter into an ongoing legal relationship? Cohen says, I declined to sign the retainer agreement and informed him that I was already represented. No, I've already got a lawyer. Although I subsequently had several other conversations and communications with Costello, at no time did I sign a retainer or otherwise agree to retain Costello, nor did I ever consider Costello or any lawyer at the DHC to be my lawyer. Although, he says, I do not believe, this is Cohen, although I do not believe that any of my communications with Costello or any other lawyers at the firm are subject even to attorney-client privilege, I hereby waive whatever attorney-client privilege and other privilege that might be argued to have been attached to such communications. And this was a knowing waiver. I have discussed the foregoing with my current counsel, and I make this waiver knowingly and voluntarily. Dated, hey, somebody write this on a sticky note for Michael Cohen and slap it on his forehead. February 7, 2019, New York, Southern District of New York. You signed it along with your lawyer, Michael Monaco. If you have questions about why you signed it, contact your lawyer. But don't change your story in front of the grand jury. And that is Robert Costello delivering all of the good, juicy bits to us. And Cohen took a plea deal as well, if you missed it. Plea deal information. We've talked about this previously. I'm not going to re-up it here, but it's all part of the public record. You can find it on the DOJ's website. And so Cohen running his mouth out there, talking about what a monster Trump is and what a criminal he is and how much he deserves to be prosecuted and locked in prison for all eternity, has been finally told to shut up. Stop speaking, Michael Cohen. You're wrecking the government's case. We're trying to prosecute Trump here.
While he usually says he cannot talk about what happens in the grand jury room, he has been advised to stop talking about the case on TV after drawing the ire of prosecutors for appearing on TV Monday night to rebut Costello's testimony.
If in fact that I waived attorney-client privilege, I'd like to know when, how, where.
February,
I don't
2019,
recall
New York.
waiving anything, but again, this is I don't know what he's talking about.
They told him, shut up, stop speaking, please, you're killing us. And so that's Michael Cohen. Now we have some other clips and reactions from other individuals. This was a short comment from one of Trump's other lawyers. This was from yesterday as well.
We're respectful of his views on the trial, and we look forward to an opportunity to develop the record. We're also happy that we got extra discovery. As I said, transparency. The key here is transparency. As each day goes by, we learn more and more facts about why this isn't an issue, why this case shouldn't have been brought, and why President Trump has done absolutely nothing wrong. I think that's the case universally. I'm not going to speak to other lawsuits or litigations or investigations, but I think universally that's what we're seeing. Is once all the facts come out, once there's transparency, once everybody knows exactly what happened, then they're going to see that President Trump has done absolutely nothing wrong. And these transactions were just the day-to-day business between a billionaire and his bankers and insurers.
Love it. Ordinary day in the life of a billionaire and his bankers and his insurance providers. That's it. Not complicated at all. But they're turning this into a very grotesque political prosecution that perverts all of the standard norms of justice. And so we're asking ourselves, are the Republicans going to do anything about this? We've already seen the House of Representatives. They sent a letter from Jim Jordan and others. How about in the Senate? The Lindsey Graham senator, he was on with Fox and Friends, and here's what he said. Hey, Lindsey, do you have anything to say about Alvin Bragg and the Trump indictment that might wreck justice in America?
So are you concerned about the District Attorney Bragg, Alvin Bragg, indicting President Trump next week in an unprecedented way, and the circus that would be around that?
Yeah, it's going to blow up our country, and this is a bunch of BS. You've had the prosecutor before Bragg, Mr. Vance, look at the case and pass on it. You had the U.S. Attorney in New York say, I'm not going to do it federally.
Right.
There was an intervening cause other than Trump running. One of the guys in the DA's office wrote a book very critical of Vance. You should have prosecuted Trump. You let him off, and Bragg feels that pressure. He's a George Soros-backed prosecutor. He can't take the heat. So the guy is yielding to the political pressure generated by the former prosecutor, and this is a case without merit, in my view. Donald Trump will be the only person in the history of New York prosecuted under this theory.
Yeah. What is...
Yeah, because it's just made up specifically for him. Now, Graham, he's a sharp guy. He knows what he's doing when he says certain things. He knows that he wrecked a lot of good Republican candidates' chances when he came out screaming about abortion back during the midterms. And you'll notice he opened that phrase up with, this is going to blow up the country. Isn't that a weird thing to say?
Way, and the circus that would be around that.
Yeah, it's going to blow up our country, and this is a bunch of BS.
Blow up our country.
You've had the...
Yeah, all right. So, it's very curious language coming from him. Got to keep an eye on him. Now, he's not alone. Ted Cruz is also out, and he says this is a disgusting, egregious overstepping of power.
Yeah, listen, the long and short of it is this indictment, if it comes this week, is absolutely outrageous. It is frivolous. It is baseless. It is a political persecution. It is not a prosecution. It is targeting Donald Trump because Alvin Bragg is a left-wing Democrat who hates Donald Trump. And legally, this case is absurd on its face. Now, it's all based on two New York statutes that concern business records, the kind of records you keep in your business. One makes it a misdemeanor to create a false or fraudulent business record. In this instance, what Bragg is trying to argue is that when Trump gave $130,000 to Michael Cohen, who allegedly paid it to Stormy Daniels as hush money, and he characterized that as legal fees, that business record was false and bogus. Now, he's got a problem with that theory, which is under New York state law, that's only a misdemeanor. That has a 2-year statute of limitations, so you can't even bring this claim now.
Yeah, it's already gone.
So Bragg has a second thing he has to do, which he has to bootstrap that into a different New York statute, which makes it a felony if you create a false business record in the aid of commission of another crime. And presumably that other crime is some sort of Federal Elections Commission violations. Now, the FEC refused to bring that case. The Department of Justice refused to bring that case. The Southern District of New York Department of Justice refused to bring that case. Bob Mueller and the Mueller investigation refused to bring that case. But Alvin Bragg is going to try to bring a case on a theory. They tried it with John Edwards. Remember John Edwards, the Democrat senator who ran for president, had an affair and then gave hush money to his mistress? They tried to prosecute him on this theory. The case got thrown out of court. This is ridiculous. It is bogus, and it is pure partisan attack from a partisan DA.
I remember that with John Edwards. Yeah, didn't he have an affair? I think he had a child with her. What was her name? Anyways, the point is, Ted Cruz is a sharp dude. He's been somebody who has argued in front of the United States Supreme Court. He understands this stuff quite well. And I think his analysis is, right on. They're looking for some aggravating factor that will allow them to carry this on past the ordinary statute of limitations. And when we were reading through the statute, some of this is still speculation, obviously, because the indictment has not been presented. But what we were reading through was talking about intent to even cover up the crime. And so we were looking as we're listening to all of this evidence and all of these facts and all the new stories come out time and day after day. We're asking ourselves whether there's going to be a bit of evidence that shows that Trump wanted to cover this up somehow, right? Concealment of another crime was one of those aggravating factors. So is Trump trying to conceal it? Did Cohen say he sent an email to Cohen saying, do this and then cover it up? Where's that evidence? Because that part feels also, in addition to everything else, it feels lacking. We're also missing that aggravating factor. I don't know where that might come from yet, but only time will tell. Now, the Biden administration, a lot of the blue team lefties, they're very excited about people around the world cherishing the United States again because their guy's in charge. They think he's this adult in the room, even though we think he's in diapers most of the time. He is still evidently a lot more acceptable to the rest of the world. So they say. Now, I've never bought that for a minute, but this, I think, confirms that doubt. This is the president of Mexico. He was giving a speech, and we'll translate this for us here. And he was castigating the United States for all sorts of anti-democratic things that are happening here. And I found myself listening to this thinking, yeah, I've got a lot of issues with a lot of these things too. This is Andrés Manuel López Obrador, president of Mexico.
Es como si
He says,
nosotros,
but this is if we're evaluating them here. He says the following.
derechos humanos.
To see human rights. Hey, listen.
¿Por qué no liberas
Why
Assange?
don't you release Julian Assange? That's what he says.
Estás hablando
If you are talking
periodismo,
about journalism
¿verdad?
and about freedom,
¿Por qué tienes
because you have Julian Assange imprisoned.
si se habla de actos de violencia?
If there is talk of acts of
¿Cómo es
violence,
que un periodista
how is that an
premiado en Estados
award-winning
Unidos
journalist
asegura
in the United States
que el
assures
gobierno de Estados
that the
Unidos
United States government
saboteó
sabotaged
el ducto
the gas pipeline, Nord Stream,
gas de Rusia a Europa?
from Russia to Europe, blew it up?
Y así,
And thus,
¿por qué
why is it, arms crossed, why?
se permite
Why
en
is it
Estados
allowed in the
Unidos
United States
que opere
to operate
un cartel o
a cartel
varios
or
carteles
several cartels
que distribuyen
that distribute
en ese país
in that country
con libertad
with freedom
el fentanilo
fentanyl
que le hace tanto daño
that does so much harm
a los jóvenes?
to the young people? Well, a lot of that's coming through that southern border there, my friend. Don't blame us for all of that. Why don't you help us out on that one?
O decirles, a ver,
Or tell them to see,
¿qué estás haciendo por
what are
los
you
jóvenes
doing for young people
para que no consuman?
so that they do not consume another fentanyl? We're asking for some help from you, although our administration is terrible on that. I'll get, that's
Otra
true.
más,
Or China, we're not doing anything.
con todo respeto.
He says, or with all due respect, which he is going to not mean at all, as you'll see here.
Está declarando el
The former
presidente
President Trump is declaring, he says,
Trump, expresidente Trump,
President Trump,
que lo van a detener,
that they're going to arrest him.
creo que hoy,
You think that today,
por un asunto
for a matter,
supuestamente,
supposedly,
como dicen los abogados,
as the lawyers say,
presuntamente,
he's laughing, allegedly, lawyers say this is about
sí, amoroso,
a loving
sí,
affair.
que lo van a detener.
They're going to arrest him.
Si fuese así,
If that were the case, Well, everyone would know why we are not sucking our thumbs, that it is so that it does not appear on the electoral ballot. And if I say this, it is because I suffered from the fabrication of a crime, because they did not want me to be a candidate. And that is completely undemocratic, because the people are not allowed to be the ones whoever decides. The president of Mexico blasting the United States is contemplating doing some of the most undemocratic things ever. Taking a candidate and charging him with crimes for a love affair is what he says, so that they can take him off the ballot and remove him in a democracy. What a joke. And then they're going to lecture us, is what he says. So some good points there to be made, minus the fentanyl point. Okay, that's part of your problem there too, buddy. So that is the latest on Donald Trump. The indictment coming soon. We don't know. We'll, of course, continue to follow. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thank you for sharing this show with your friends, your family, inviting them to come and join us, because the saga will continue and we'll be here to cover it. Thank you for joining us as we do. So as we wait for the Trump indictment, we're also turning our attention over to other individuals who have actually already been indicted, known as Proud Boys trial day 42. We turn our attention on the defense's case in chief, day 3, back over to Eddie Block, the Proud Boys videographer. And he's on YouTube at Eddie Block Films. Good channel to subscribe to, especially since he's going to be done testifying and traveling back. Now, previously, when we were talking about Eddie, we were asking about his service dog. We learned on March 20th, his service dog, Donnie, was allowed to come into court. Judge Kelly signed off on that. And here's what we see. Donnie was there in court right next to Eddie Block. And you can see a real good boy who was the star of the show. Undoubtedly, we'll get to that. Prosecutors were taking pictures with him. Defense attorneys were taking pictures with him. It seemed like a good time if it wasn't in the middle of a circus that involved the destruction of due process in America. But you see here, this is Donald J. Trump, the service dog, sitting there, big fella. And it'd be hard not to go up there and give him a nice big belly rub. So you see, that is what took place. And we are going to start back up with Eddie Block, who is in court. He is back in session. We're turning our attention over to Roger Parloff. It's day 42 of the Proud Boys trial. And so we're fast forwarding until we see Judge Kelly take the bench. And now we've got it. Judge Kelly is on the bench. All rise. Please be seated. Judge says, okay, well, do we have any preliminary issues that we need to attend to, prosecutors and defense attorneys? Defense attorney Nick Smith, who's representing Ethan Nordine, says, Judge, yeah, just a quick update. We actually are not going to be calling those 2 additional witnesses. We were going to think about it today, but we decided that we're not going to do it. But I have another issue. Can we hop on the phones? Sure, no problem. Roger tells us, this is strange. Apparently, today's going to be a half day. Smith might have 1 additional witness tomorrow, Thursday, but if not, Tarrio's case will begin. Jurrors, who is representing Enrique Tarrio, says he wants the first witness to be an FBI agent. Ooh, tomorrow? But he doesn't fully explain what that is about, because remember, he's a defense attorney. He's representing the defense. The defense typically doesn't call law enforcement. So why is he calling an FBI agent? Jurrors, representing Tarrio, also advises that he wants to call Lieutenant Shane Lamond. Now, Lieutenant Shane Lamond, if Lamond takes the 5th, they want him to do that on the stand. I would put him up there. Take the 5th. I want the jurors to see that. The judge says, well, he's not going to let Lamond take the 5th in front of the jury, but they can take that up later. If you want to call him, that's fine. But no, we're not going to put him in front of the jury. I mean, obviously, we're not going to do that. He says, okay, well, all right, we'll take that up when you call him. You let me know if you call him, and wherever you want to do it, we'll deal with it when we get there. He says, oh man, his court clerk hands him a note. Oh, great. Says, all right, well, we have another issue. Apparently, another juror has a medical issue, and that's going to require breaking Friday at 2:30 as well, rather than doing a full day like the judge had hoped. So Thursday's a half day and Friday's a half day. Eddie Block has retaken the stand, as has his St. Bernard service dog named Donald J. Trump, proudly sitting there right next to Eddie, the real goodest boy in the whole building. Jury comes in. We have another note. Carmen Hernandez, defense attorney for Zach Rehl, indicated that she's going to be calling a West Virginia Proud Boy called Jeff Finley out of order on Friday as one of her witnesses. She has repeatedly said that Rehl is not racist, came to D.C. with Proud Boy friends who were black or Asian, and Finley is black. We're back. Prosecutor Kennerson resumes the cross. Eddie Block is on the stand. Prosecutor says, okay there, Eddie. Good to see you again. Hope you had a nice night sleeping well. He says, yeah, I did. Great. Well, I want to talk back about your message. Or you said yesterday that you had a plan to lure Antifa, right? Yeah. And then you were going to ambush them when they came upon you because you're in a wheelchair and you looked sort of like this victim, helpless person, and you were going to be live streaming and then they were going to attack you. Remember? Yeah, I remember that. And why'd you do that? Oh, I was just angry. I was just sort of this weird plan I have. And were you still angry on January 6th? Probably. You mentioned yesterday that a couple times your rental scooter, it got stuck when you were there on January 6th. Yeah. I want to show you a video of that where that happened. Okay. Prosecutor plays the video. In the video, Eddie Block is on his scooter. He says, I should go live, everybody. They're in the group. He says, let my scooter break and have the Proud Boys wait in hiding, is what he said. He said, Block says, well, yeah, my scooter broke down. Yeah. Yeah, of course I said that. But there are 5 or 6 Proud Boys standing around me, so that's not part of the plan. So you never said anything wrong about police, says the prosecutor. Objection. Sustained. You testified, Eddie, about a rally that you went to where you treated the police with respect. Is that right? Objection. Sidebar. Misstates the testimony. Don't know what the ruling was, but they come back. Prosecutor says, all right. On December 19th, you said the following, didn't you? I'm done with the cops. I can't take it anymore. Them stopping us from stopping Antifa. Eddie says, well, if it's there, I said it. They pull up the message on the screen. It is there. You did say it. Okay. Block says, well, I'm very different with the assistant police in my county. You know, I'm best friends with the police in my county. Prosecutor says, yeah, but you said, Block says, well, haven't you also been a kid and said, I hate my mom? You ever said that? I've never attacked Antifa first. If I lure them out and they attack, they're still attacking me first. And there's a big difference. So he cut the prosecutor back off. I'm very different with the police where I'm from. I'm best friends with them, in fact. You said, yeah, but have you ever also been a kid? I've said that. I hate my mom and I hate this and I hate that thing. I've never attacked Antifa. If I lure them out and they attack me, they still attack me. I'm not attacking them, right? If I sit there as a free person in one particular location and they think, oh, there's a helpless guy in a wheelchair. How about we bash his head in or something? That's on them. That's not on Eddie. And he's making that point back to them. Yeah, but you testified yesterday that you never saw any talk about storming the Capitol in the Proud Boy chats. You say that? Objection. Misstates the testimony again. Overruled. Can carry on. He says, well, what I probably said is I don't recall seeing any of those messages. Yeah, but you yourself wrote something about storming the Oregon Capitol, didn't you? Objection. 403 beyond the scope. Your Honor's already ruled on this issue. Sidebar. 403, more harmful than helpful, more prejudicial than probative. Beyond the scope, they didn't ask about that in the direct exam. Asked and answered, we've already ruled on these things. Sidebar. Prosecutor comes back. Let's go back to January 6th. You were there because election certification was going on. Is that true, Eddie? Yeah. And your goal with the Proud Boys was to get your voices heard. Is that true? Yeah. And Tario and Biggs and Nordine, they would sort of run the show at the rallies. Is that right? Yeah. And so Biggs and Nordine and Rehl, Zachary, they all ran the show at January 6th. I didn't actually see Rehl doing much. How about Biggs? Biggs is kind of a big deal, isn't he? Yeah, he's respected in our community. How about Nordine? He's kind of a big deal. Yes, he is also respected in our community. And Biggs and Nordine are leaders? Well, we respected them. I could say that. I thought of Tario and Biggs as leaders. You could say Nordine too. Nordine is thought of as the one-punch wonder. The people in this room right now, the defendants, are very well-respected Proud Boys. The prosecutor says, and they're also respected in the normie community too, right? Well, I don't know what other people are thinking. I can't talk about the normies. I want to play this video for you, and they put the video on the screen. Now, when you film events, does everybody know who you are? He says, yeah, I'm the cripple in the scooter. Now they play a video. Nordine's on the video, says, every chance you get, make us look good. He's telling that to Eddie. Eddie's in the scooter, and he's saying, yeah, perfect. Uhuru. Nordine says, if you're not a Proud Boy, stay out of our ranks. Block says, well, yeah, we do that. We do that for a reason. We don't want people getting hurt. In the video, before that, Block was live streaming. He said, we're going to the Capitol and then back to the rally. Prosecutor asks, you weren't worried about Antifa hearing that on your live stream and then attacking you? You kind of told them where you were going. Were you nervous? He says, no, that's kind of vague. You know, it's the Capitol and the rally. It's, you know, giant places. Prosecutor is trying to continue on, but Eddie Block doesn't have it. Eddie says, I'm surprised you haven't shown the footage in Portland where Antifa was throwing bombs at me on my scooter. Why don't you play that video, Mr. Prosecutor? Prosecutor says, I'm asking the questions here. Says, you don't know what Nordine's purpose was in going to the Capitol, do you? No, I'm not in his brain. Antifa, they're generally not big fans of Alex Jones, are they? I wouldn't think so. They'd attack Alex, right, if they got the opportunity. Objection, sidebar. Prosecutor drops it. They show a video. In the video, Ethan Nordine is leading the Proud Boys past the peace circle for the first time, happening around 11:21. Ethan says, we're going to hold out this roundabout for a bit and then link up with Alex Jones for a bit. Prosecutor turns back over. So you weren't afraid of Antifa hearing that? No. Video cues back up. Nordine says, up here, we're going to hang a right. You didn't fear Antifa hearing that either? Sounds like you're going to the right. Well, they know where you are. Eddie says, how can I stop in the second before that he said that? What do you want me to do? Like just end the live stream? What? We're just live streaming and walking and talking. In the streets, there's a video. In the video, they're saying our streets, our streets. This is our capital, MFers. And now the Proud Boys are east of the Capitol. Block, they say, what's happening here? He says, well, if we look like soldiers, it's because we are soldiers. We're the new police around here. And Block says it's called a peaceful offensive. We train so people won't attack us. Prosecutor plays that and says, okay, so you're the new police around here? Is that true? He said, well, it's just something I said. Okay, we were hyping up the crowd. Hyping up the crowd, says the prosecutor. Oh, looking at the jurors. Hyping up the crowd. Oh, yeah. I want to play another video for you. In this one, we've got Donahoe. We've got Nordine. They're all talking about where to go next. Nordine. Where's Nordine pointing at? You see him on there? What's he pointing at? Is he pointing at the Capitol? I don't know Washington, really. Do you see the Capitol in the video? Yeah, I see it. Looks like Donahoe's pointing to the Capitol, too. And you didn't pull away there, did you? You didn't stay behind when they were going that direction? No, but that doesn't mean anything. Roger comments, says he had a stagey laugh, whatever that is. No, but he doesn't. No, but that doesn't mean anything. Video continues to play. F Antifa, F Antifa. Proud Boys are now passing a group of police officers. Block is saying on the video, nobody blank with the Proud Boys. Block says, I think I saw 3 officers. They walk past the police. Andy Biggs raises his middle finger. He says, F Antifa. Or he raises his middle finger. They say, what's he doing right there? Is he pointing that middle finger to the police? No, Eddie says. No, he's saying F Antifa. He's not saying that towards the cops. Yeah, but the officers are gearing up right on his left, aren't they? Actually, I can't tell whether that's an officer or not. In the video, it plays forward. Biggs is in the video. He says something. He says, oh, Shannon's calling right now. Prosecutor says, do you know who Shannon Roosh is? No, not by name. Video continues. Did Biggs just broadcast the Proud Boys location on your live stream, Eddie? Yeah. And when he did that, you didn't feel the need to pull away? He's trying to undermine this narrative about fearing Antifa. You didn't really fear about them. All that talk about fearing Antifa and needing to be strong to combat Antifa, it's all fake, right? You guys made that all up here. You're not really scared of them. If you were, you would have left. You would have said, uh-oh, the Proud Boys just doxed our location. I got to get out of here. You didn't feel the need to pull away? I didn't have the time to pull away. Look, I can't control what they say in front of me. I'm the videographer. They're just talking. I'm videoing. But Biggs and Nordine, they just had another conversation about where to go next, didn't they? Objection, sidebar. They go back on the video. Do you see Biggs and Nordine here? Are they having a discussion about where they're supposed to go? He says, yeah, they were, but I wasn't paying attention. But again, you didn't pull away, did you? I'm not Superman, says Eddie. You act like I'm a superhero who can get away from them in a second, but I'm not. Video plays. Nordine's in the video, just said, we'll go to the bathroom, we'll get some food, and we'll link up with Alex Jones. Did you hear that? He says, yeah, look, there are so many things in these videos, okay? It's hard for me to listen for things. They play another video. In the next video, he says, listen for Biggs saying, we're going to stay here for a few. They play the video. Block says something like, go get your S and we'll hang out here. Prosecutor says, you're still live streaming here? So that means that this is not something you were worried about broadcasting to Antifa, were you? Again, I'm not Superman, okay? I'm on a mobility scooter, sir. This thing doesn't go 100 miles an hour, all right? It's not the Batmobile, all right? I can't take off vertically. We're at a rally. I'm not going to just leave on the video. I'm there. What do you want from me? You told a journalist that where you were going next, didn't you? But yeah, the rally was huge. You remember testifying about this on direct? Block is in another video saying, time for him to move away. Another part of the video. Block says, okay, look, it's time for me to move away. I don't want to overhear something, is what Block says. And you were wearing your Superman cape then in the video? He says, well, I'm not sure now. I forgot. Prosecutor asks, in this conversation, were they saying that he was going to go to the march and they want to keep him close into the beast? Is that what they said? Yeah, it sounds like that. And that's where you pull away because you didn't want to overhear things. Is that true? I don't remember. Here, you were worried about broadcasting to Antifa. Yeah, that's when I got nervous about it. But you didn't pull away from them at any of the other conversations. Again, I'm not Superman. You testified it seemed like no one was in charge, right? Yeah. They play another video. Nordine says, we're going to form a roundabout. We're going to gear up to go to this roundabout. Form a line nice and steady. Plays the video, goes back over to Eddie. Eddie says, you make it seem like I'm lying. You're insinuating. Judge says, hold on, Eddie. You need to wait a minute. Video keeps playing. Prosecutor says, this Proud Boys group, you guys are organized now, isn't it? He says, well, I guess you could say that. Nordine's is in the front, Biggs there, and then Zachary Rehl here. He says, yeah, I believe so. Image looks kind of blurry. Video shows Biggs leading the march to the peace circle. Biggs says hold, and the group stops. We've already heard of this video. Biggs is up front, hold, and they all stop. You said your goal was to get voices heard? Yeah. And your goal was to get as close to the barriers as possible? Yeah. You weren't in the Ministry of Self-Defense chat? No. And you didn't get advance notice to go to the Washington Monument, did you? No. Yet you still knew the goal was to get as close as you could, right? Yes. Block says, can I say something? In the video, Biggs says, whose capital, our capital, points at the Capitol. Prosecutor asks, now you weren't asked about this sequence on the direct exam, were you? I don't recall. You ever heard a chant of whose capital, our capital from Mr. Biggs before this moment? You ever hear him say that? I don't recall. He says, I mean, it is the people's house, though. It is our house. You said you saw all over social media, quote, storm the Capitol. Now he's chanting, whose capital, our capital. Yeah, that's what he's chanting. He's a pretty big deal in Proud Boy circles. Very big deal. Yeah, he's a hero. And not just by the Proud Boys, right? But by conservatives. Yeah. And so the crowd surged forward on that day, right? Yeah. And you went with them. Well, I followed them as far as I could. I hit a curb. Did Nordine wait for you this time when you got stuck? No, not that time. He didn't. And you found alternate means and you went on the Capitol grounds as well, right? Yeah. And you just said on video, you just said, we just played it, we're storming the Capitol. Is that what you said? Yes, because they were actually doing what people were saying on Facebook. I'm a journalist. When action is happening, you follow the action. I was told in journalism class, you're allowed to go. Storming the Capitol? I'm a journalist, sir. I'm doing what journalists do. That's true. There were CNN people all over the place. There were some of the first people in the building were journalists taking pictures of all of this stuff. They play more of the video. You just said, oh, shoot, we're tearing it down. Yeah, I just said that. Not they're tearing it down. You said we're tearing it down. He says, yes, I was with a group of people. It's just something you say. I was a journalist following the action. You believe you took over the Capitol? Carmen Hernandez jumps in. Objection, relevance, overruled. This is why I may have said that. So you believe that you took over the Capitol? He says, no, I wouldn't say that. Can't remember my thoughts that day. It was 2 years ago. Oh, well, I want to show you a text message. Text message goes up on the screen. He says, oh, yes, I see. That your email address? Yeah. You sent this email on January 7th? Yeah. What does it say? Does it say me at the top of the Capitol after we took it over? He says, yes, it was we as in a whole bunch of people. Were you there as a participant or a journalist? He says, a little bit of both. You were the last person to leave the Capitol on January 6th? Yes. There was no way for me to get down. The last person to leave. That's part of what your Twitter bio says to this day, that you were the last to leave. Is that true? Yeah. Now, while you were up there, did you put a Proud Boy sticker on stage on plywood? Prosecutor showing him a text message from 1/7/2021, 11:35 with video. Video says, I heart Proud Boys on inaugural stage. Someone above him is leading the chants. Left our mark on the Capitol. LOL. Criminal damage, death penalty, obviously. Death penalty for him. He should be in prison for 5 years, right next to Jacob Chansley for this. Left our mark on the Capitol. Just kidding, Eddie. Glad you're not in jail. Hernandez says, objection, relevance, move to strike. Judge says, overruled. Kennerson is done. Prosecutor is over. Now, that's it for the cross-examination. Judge Kelly says, all right, everybody, we're done for a few minutes. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Attorneys, you guys hang tight. Everybody excuses the jurors. They hang back. Witness Eddie Block is still on the stand. Hernandez wants to jump into a discussion about objections. They take a break. We fast forward 10 minutes and Judge Kelly is back on the bench. Nick Smith is back up at the podium. He's doing the redirect exam of Eddie Block. Eddie just got beaten up a little bit by this prosecutor, and the defense is going to try to help him repair some of the damage. He says, Eddie, the prosecutor brought up your Give, Send, Go donation page, which is where anybody who's watching or listening to this can go to support Eddie Block at his Give, Send, Go. He needed some funds to travel out there. He had to drive because he's in a wheelchair. He's disabled. Have you made it? And he's in his link. It should be his YouTube channel should be linked in our description, and it should be on his channel as well. Have you made any money by appearing today? No. You were subpoenaed to appear here today, right? Yeah. Are you able to fly to DC? No. I have multiple medical conditions. I drove from California. I left on Tuesday and I arrived on Sunday. It cost me thousands of dollars. I've been told it's up to debate if I'll be reimbursed. Got $200 or something so far. My plan is to use it for gas. If I get reimbursed by the court, I'll donate it. Defense says, so you told the video about Antifa, about the van in Portland. When was that? August 2021? Yeah. After January 6th, right? Yeah. The prosecutor showed you some points along the march where you didn't turn your camera off. He asked you, didn't turn it off, didn't turn it off. You remember that? Yeah. You said you didn't stop because you were not able to because of the speed of the movements. Is that right? Yeah. There wasn't any way to stop. If I turn the camera off, it ends the stream. It's a big process. He's right about that. He's dead right about that, man. You have to restart a stream. Ugh. One of your tubes doesn't work when we're connecting the tubes. It's a nightmare. Shout out to Eddie. I feel your pain. Says no way to stop. It's a big process. So was your concern about telegraphing where the group was, about the present or the future? Well, really about the future. Did some of these movements that the prosecutor asked you about involve conversations that didn't involve the future? I can't remember. So he's saying that all of these decisions were snap decisions. These guys are walking down. We're going to point over there and go to the Capitol. And that happened right now, like in real time. They decided this is where we're going. And so you can't predict the future? No, I can't. Now, S is referring to his plan to lure Antifa into the bush. So do you think that plan would have actually worked and been enacted in the real world, Eddie? No, but that was just me trying to be a tough guy. You said that 99% of what's said in the Proud Boy chats is just not real. Yeah. Did that operation you were describing there have anything to do with January 6th? No. You remember that clip you were fiddling with a screw on your scooter and you say something about wait in hiding? Remember that? Yeah. Was that a plan about the Capitol? No, I was talking to myself, really. Government also showed you a chat where you said sometime in December 2020, you said the following: I'm done with the cops. They're preventing us from stomping on Antifa. Remember that? Did that reflect a plan to interfere with the police on January 6th? No. Did you push or assault the police on January 6th? No. When you were asked if Nordine was a leader, did your reference to a leader mean leading people to do criminal activities? No, I didn't mean that at all. I was a leader in the Elks Club, but I couldn't tell people what to do. So you understand there to be rules about people walking with groups and that they couldn't leave? Did you think that that was the rule? That if you're walking with them, you were not free to leave? No, not at all. Was Nordine ordering people around on January 6th? I wouldn't say ordering, no. He was just showing people where to go and things like that. Do you recall Nordine saying multiple times during this march that the plan was to go back to the rally? Yeah. Do you think he said that only when he was being live streamed? Objection overruled. Calls for speculation. No. Were you giving Nordine real-time updates on when he was successfully streaming and when your internet was down? He says, no, I didn't even know that. Remember, the Beast, Trump's vehicle, came around in front of them and it actually interfered with the transmission. He said his live stream went down. So now the defense is asking about Alex Jones. He says, all right, the prosecutor also brought this up. Apparently 11/21, Nordine is talking about meeting up with Alex Jones. Remember that? Yeah. Do you remember the government asking about whether Biggs was pointing towards the Capitol? Objection, misstates overruled. Was he pointing towards the Capitol? Yeah. And then the group moved on to the food trucks. Yeah. And in this video, do you hear somebody mentioning Alex Jones there? He says, honestly, no, I wasn't able to hear that. Okay, no problem. In this video, the group is walking over to the food trucks, right? Yeah. And if we fast forward, you're now at the food trucks. And the group was deciding what to do, weren't they, here, rather than implementing the prior plan? Weren't they? Yeah, definitely. Now, at this point, I think we're still with the defense. We swapped to a K over there, but I think that's probably just trial fatigue from Roger. Can we give it up for Roger? Doing a great job, Roger. And this one comes in from the defense, says, a journalist named Chris asked where you're heading. Remember that when he came up? What was your response to that? He said, yeah, we were heading back to the rally. That was just based on everything I heard. And you said, objection, leading, sustained. He rephrases it. What was your response? He says, well, I believe I said nothing was going on at the Capitol. I didn't see anything going on, so I thought we were going back to the Capitol. Okay, but you're back at the food trucks now. And did Nordine, my client, say anything that led you to believe that there was going to be something going on at the Capitol? Something might happen there? No. What did they say in this video? Oh, well, these guys came up. It was Nordine, Milkshake, and Donahoe. They asked me why I left. I said I didn't want Antifa to know where we were going. I was able to move away because it wasn't just a quick 2 or 3 word statement. They were planning and I left. Did it appear to you at that time that they were deciding what to do? They were coming up with a plan at that point? Yeah. Do you remember there being 2 opinions about what to do? No. Remember some wanting to go back to the hotels? I honestly don't remember that. I've circled someone on this screen. You see this here? Yeah. It's Nugent. Was he a leader? Well, yeah, he was on the leadership side, always in close proximity. I thought he was our head of security. I've learned since that his name was Travis. We heard from him as a witness previously. The government called him. Why was he wearing a mask? Objection, sustained. Foundation and speculation. Defense says he was wearing a mask all day. Yeah, every event we've been to, he'd say, Antifa's here, Antifa's here. He was looking out. He never showed his face in any of my footage ever. Did you understand that Biggs was raising his middle finger? Well, regardless of which direction it was pointed, did you understand that to be a call to harm those officers? No, I didn't say that. I didn't think so. He was saying F Antifa. The middle finger sort of goes along with the F Antifa. Another video is playing. Moments before the breach, F Antifa is what is being said on the video. Smith is circling again. There are non-Proud Boys, and this one non-Proud Boy with a megaphone. Interesting. Who was this person with the megaphone? Was he a Proud Boy? No. Was he on the march with you? No. And so he's the one encouraging the crowd to move forward. Doesn't it sound like that? Yeah, I heard something like that and something about a wall. So you entered a restricted area? Yeah, I entered an area I later found out was restricted. Did Nordine, my client, tell you to do that? No. Have you been charged? No. You were shown a text that you wrote inside the Capitol with Alex Jones. Yeah. Did Nordine tell you to do that? No. Did you understand you'd be cross-examined about that material? About being inside a restricted zone? Yeah. And you decided to testify regardless? Objection sustained. Why did you decide to testify today, sir? Objection, sidebar explains it. Incredibly long sidebar over that question. Wow. And they come back. Any reason you want to testify today? Objection, sustained, move to strike. So he's going to drop that whole line of questioning. So you did not understand the purpose of the march was to invade the Capitol. Is that true? Yeah. The purpose was not to interfere with law enforcement? Right. That's correct. No further questions, Your Honor. Now, we have Enrique Tarrio. His attorney, Najib Hassan, is now going to take up the podium and ask some questions. Looks like this is going to be a cross-examination. And we don't know. Remember that these are co-defendants in a case, but they are not unified. They're unifying their defense. They are also pointing fingers at each other, kind of. They're saying that one of them might be more innocent than the other, right? Now, my client didn't do this, and my client didn't do this. And so if one witness said something that is bad against another co-defendant, they can cross-examine that same witness. So let's see what this looks like. Hassan comes out. So in other words, we don't know if this is a friendly line of questioning or a cross-examination. Let's see. Hassan says, now, the government asked about a statement in which you said that Tario, my client, believed that he was, quote, too good for you. You remember that? Yeah. Was Tario friendly with you? Yeah. Ever disrespectful to you? No. Did he ever insult you? No. Ever make you feel inferior? No. The only reason you said that was he didn't respond to text messages? Objection sustained. Yes, around that time, he hadn't returned my text messages. Hassan is done. No further questions. Defense attorney Carmen Hernandez, representing Zachary Rehl, is now up. Eddie, can you explain to the jurors what the Elks are? Sure. Yeah, it's a charitable organization. Each state has a different charity that they donate to. I became one because my dad was in the Air Force. I'm disabled from an Agent Orange exposure. And Elks came to our aid. They're all about giving charity to people. So 4 times a year, I give charity too. Judge says, okay, shut up. The question was just about the Elks. The judge doesn't want him to talk about what a good person he is. So he shut him up. I give to charity and I help a lot of grandmothers and stuff. Hey, you're making yourself look too good here. Okay, for the jurors. That's not the question. Nobody even I don't even know. Nobody cut him off. The judge cut him off. The prosecutor could have cut him off, I guess, but it's actually maybe not. This is a weird situation because who can object to a cross-examination of a defense witness? I guess the government can, but if it's adverse, it's a strange situation. So the judge cuts him off. Okay, stop talking about how good you are. We don't want to hear about the good stuff. So Hernandez says a lot is directed at youth and veterans. Yeah. You were the last person to leave the Capitol. Overruled. Yeah, I was carried up there. When police pushed people out, I was against a wall and they didn't see me. Police didn't know how to get me down. They refused to let me use the elevator. I actually fell down on the way out. Cops throwing a disabled man out of his chair? You went to journalism school? Yeah. You took courses on the First Amendment. Objection sustained. Hernandez says, now I want to show you a video, a video about those food trucks. Is my client Zachary Rehl participating in this conversation at all? No, he's not. Hernandez says, we're done. No further questions. Sidebar. Now we're about done. Judge Kelly tells jurors, you're done for the day. He says, wow, we finished earlier than expected. Nordine ran out of witnesses, decided not to call some. Judge says, well, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to discuss the way forward. Meanwhile, Kelly, the judge, is allowing the whole prosecution team, including the chief prosecutor, Knierson, to take pictures with Eddie Block's dog, the real good boy known as Donald J. Trump, service dog, in court today. Prosecution team, recognizing this whole thing as a circus, they decide, hey, we'll go take a photograph of some insurrectionists that we put in prison and their witnesses and the Donald Trump dog. They're probably going to frame it. They'll use this as a memento, because that's how this sort of is to them, is another etch in the belt, marking, another award accolade. We saved America from an insurrection. These prosecutors are so weird. I can't even tell you. They talk like that to each other. We fight for justice. We fought for justice today and all this stuff. And it's like first of all, Zachary Rehl didn't even commit any violent offenses at all. And one of the conspiracy charges is throwing a water bottle. Enrique Tarrio wasn't even there at all. Right. So it's all just kind of it's a sad state of affairs, but I can also understand wanting to go take a picture with that real good boy. I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy. it'd be hard not to, you know, I can understand it. So normally photographs are not permitted. We already talked about this. Norm Pattis got in trouble for taking pictures in the courtroom. He took a picture of the circles and the squigglies that were drawn by who we call the alleged liar, FBI agent Nicole Miller, who was changing the size of the circles that she was drawing. Norm Pattis took a photo. The judge scolded him over that, but the judge allowed it today. And look at this handsome fella. What a good boy. So Judge Kelly is back on the bench. Norm Pattis for the defense. Can we bring this dog in every day? The jurors like us a lot better today. Can we bring him back tomorrow? Defense is asking the judge, proposing to tell Tarrio by early this evening if he's going to call a witness tomorrow or not. If not, if Smith doesn't call a witness, that's Ethan Nordean's lawyer, then he's going to rest and Tarrio will begin his witness tomorrow, Thursday. Judge Kelly may have allowed Nordean to postpone his decision on whether to testify until later. If so, that's unusual. Now, Judge Kelly is saying that the text between Tarrio and the Metro PD could be relevant to Tarrio's state of mind. Judge Kelly is also thinking that if there's evidence that Tarrio's info went up the chain of the command and was arguably useful, that could conceivably be relevant too. However, Judge Kelly is dubious that communications between Tarrio and Lamond after J6 would be relevant. Prosecutor says, that sounds sensible, Judge. Devil's in the details. In many communications, it's simply Lieutenant Lamond providing information. It's not clear where it's from. Not clear if it's from Tarrio or from open source or whatever. There's also things like where he says, they won't be in colors, but it's for nefarious purposes, and we object to that. Judge Kelly agrees. Kelly is also dubious that there would be any point to calling witnesses who allegedly received these messages. So other police officers, Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll, former Capitol Police Chief Defense Sabino Jaraguay for Enrique Tarrio jumps in. He says, we want to show my client helps surrender Nicole Roberson. That shows my client didn't approve of J6 and helped bring Nicole Roberson to justice. Judge says, no, that's enough. His intent and state of mind post J6, when he's in contact with law enforcement, that's irrelevant. So the defense is trying to show that Tarrio was really useful after the fact. Judge says, well, that's after the fact. You don't get to make up for it. Jaraguay says, well, we did subpoena Jack Donahue, head of intelligence for the Capitol Police, and we hope to call him. Judge Kelly says, I doubt that. I don't think we're going to be calling Jack Donahue, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Now, Ethan Nordean, Nick Smith says, we've subpoenaed a confidential human source. Uh-oh. Defense says, we've just been told he's become available earlier than expected, but not tomorrow. They discuss some jury instructions. Judge says he'll take a look at the instructions. And now Norm Pattis argues, he says, Judge, I want to be able to argue for jury nullification, telling the jury that they should just take the law and throw it in the garbage. Judge is obviously going to tell him no. Prosecutor thinks we should discuss seditious conspiracy tomorrow. Prosecutor thinks that Friday afternoon's a better day to do this. And Carmen Hernandez closes it out. She says, Judge, you know, my client, Zachary Rehl, has been in jail for 2 years now. He didn't use force, didn't do anything violent, and he's been in jail for 2 years. He's got a little girl who was born after his arrest, and he hasn't seen her since then. Non-violent offense for being in the Capitol for a little bit of time with a group called the Proud Boys. That's it. 2 years in custody, no daughter. Judge Kelly will think about it, but he doesn't think anything's changed since the bail hearing. He's still an insurrectionist as far as I care. So recessing till 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Hope to see you then. That's the end of the trial proceedings that took place today, but we are not done yet, not even close. We have a big doozy to attend to, and this one came in today. Zachary Rehl, his defense attorney, Carmen Hernandez, filed a motion to dismiss, and it is a doozy. Here's what it says. Filed March 22nd, 3 pages long, out of the District of Columbia, United States of America versus Zachary Rehl. And here is the title. Defendant's motion to compel the disclosure of all FBI interview reports and all DOJ memos relating, listen, to the recording and the reporting of the defense team. What? Compel disclosure of all FBI interview reports and DOJ memos relating to the recording and the reporting of the defense team? Defendant Zachary Rehl, through counsel and pursuant to the Constitution, respectfully removes this court for an order compelling the government to disclose to the defense all reports, including FBI 302 reports, and recordings that have been prepared in this case relating to any person, including but not limited to confidential human sources and any other witnesses that the FBI communicated with regarding the possibility of any recordings or reports it may have regarding the defense team, the defense lawyers, including all interview reports, all FBI memos relating to the recording on the defense team, all memos from the US DOJ about our team. Why? Where does this even come from? Mr. Rehl is filing this motion on his own behalf and on behalf of all defendants with the consent for their counsel. All lawyers are on board this for everybody. Mr. Rehl and the defendants are herewith preparing a separate motion to dismiss the indictment, or in the alternative for an evidentiary hearing, raising serious and substantiated allegations of government misconduct surrounding the surreptitious invasion and interference of the defense team by the government through a confidential human source at the government's behest. The instant motion is based on a disclosure made to the defense counsel today, March 22nd, 2023, at the end of the court proceedings, wherein the government stated that one of the witnesses who was disclosed to the United States and to the court in December 2022, who was scheduled to appear in the defense case the following day, has been serving as a confidential human source since April 2021 through at least January 2023. Holy moly. Okay, so the defense disclosed witnesses saying we're going to use our witnesses for trial. Coming up, what we're in the middle of right now. The disclosures were made in December. That witness list was on the name in December. Seems to me like the government got wind of that, terminated the confidential human source date after that disclosure, ended it, and that means that throughout the entirety of this pending case, there is theoretically this confidential human source who was also a defense witness. Now, we're not done. During this period of time, the confidential human source has been in contact via telephone, via text messaging, and other electronic means. Somebody working with the FBI, with one or more of the counsel for the defense and at least one defendant. The FBI, according to the defense, all of them, the FBI has a confidential human source who was communicating with the defense lawyers and the defendants themselves. It's earth-shattering if this is true. During this period of time, the confidential human source who's on a witness list also participated in prayer meetings with members of one or more of the defendants' families. That's what your FBI is doing. The confidential human source also engaged in discussions with one of the defendant's family members about replacing one of the defense counsel. The above may not include all communications that have been initiated or engaged in by the confidential human source. The allegations about the existence of yet one more previously undisclosed CHS, after various other alleged full and complete disclosures of all the CHSs in this case, demonstrate that there are reasons to doubt the veracity of the government's explanation and justification for withholding information about the CHSs who have been involved in this case. Moreover, the government disclosed this information for the first time on the day before the witness was scheduled to appear. Accordingly, Mr. Rehl and other defendants in this instant case respectfully request that the court compel the government to disclose all information, all recordings, all reports, everything set forth, so that the defense team and the court can have a very complete picture of what happened here and why. The defendants request an emergency hearing and adjournment of the court proceedings until all these issues have been considered and resolved. Respectfully submitted, Carmen D. Hernandez. And holy moly, my friends, absolutely insane that is even being discussed, something like this. Now, the judge is taking it very seriously. Minute order was entered in right after the fact. Says, hey, government prosecutors, this is pretty serious. Why do you guys have a confidential human source that the government is now disclosing that was one of their key witnesses, that was telling them to replace their defense lawyers? What was going on there? We need to know. The judge wants to know. Says it is ordered that the government shall file any response by 9 a.m. tomorrow, March 23rd. And so bright and early, we're going to see what that looks like. Of course, we'll be here to cover that. Could be earth-shattering. You know, if something like this is true, you might see the judge toss the entire case if something like that is true, depending on what happens. Now, the government's going to come through this and they're going to say, just like their other spreadsheet debacle, oh no, this is all sensitive material and you don't need to know about any of this. And it was all inconsequential and minor, and therefore the whole thing should be forgotten. We'll, of course, see. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We'll look forward to seeing you here when we have more. And that, my friends, is it for us on the day. So we covered some good ground. Got the Proud Boys trial, day 42. Shocking new motion. Tomorrow is going to be lit. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see if Trump gets indicted tomorrow. We'll see what happens there, but we covered some good ground on that. Michael Cohen is turning out to be a bigger liar than any of us even suspected. But that is it for us on the day, my friends. And now it's time to see what you have to say and check in with our friends over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our friends on YouTube. Say hello to Rumble. Say hello to Twitter before we jump over onto our after party for all of our members. A couple in our super chats from YouTube came in. Doug Murray says, hey, I called the Manhattan DA's office this morning and I asked if it was the Donald Trump re-election campaign headquarters now. They scolded me and they hung up. From Doug Murray. Is this Donald Trump headquarters? Can I make a campaign contribution to you? Hilarious. Good to see you, Doug. Thanks for the dono. And hey, Dolphin Fan, thank you very much. Dolphin Fan invited 5 new members over to our incredible community. Shy Nobody got a gift. Sub Oh My Circus is here. Gen X Boomer got a gift. Stephen R's in the house. And Jesse Jackson all got gifts courtesy of our friend Dolphin Fan. And thank you very much for doing that, Dolphin. Our morning chats are getting a lot more filled. Dolphin Fan is here too. Says, give him a break. Hire him for your new firm. Which one are we talking about, Dolphin Fan? Give him a break. Hire him for. Oh, maybe you're talking about Donald J. Trump. Maybe we can hire him for some legal expertise. Here we go. We have. So Voice of the People says, I kid you not. There is a game on Steam platform. It's called Tax Heaven 3000. It lets you file your 1040 EZ, and you can date a sim at the same time. It's not available till April. Where is that asteroid? We need it now. What? There's a tax game called Tax Heaven 3000. Oh my gosh, I know some tax lawyers who probably love that. Is there criminal law 3000? Is there criminal defense heaven 4000, 9000? I'll play that game, man. I'll play that game. Probably have a problem with it. Voice of the People, good to see you. Thank you for being here. And thanks for the very nice dono, my friend. Voice of the People's over on YouTube too. And our friends over on Rumble, we got member of the public over there. We got NC Native. Good to see everybody. Our Rumble chat is filling up as well. Soul Warrior vibe. We got Fairy Dance over there. Tater Sandwich is on Rumble. Good to see you, Tater Sandwich. Donut Mind Me. We have Nick Danger, Janek. Good to see our friends over there. And let's check in over on Twitter and see who's over there before we jump over to our after party for our members. And if you're a YouTube member and you just joined us, don't forget to join the Telegram. Click the community post section and grab the Telegram. Wow. Okay, so let's do another refresh on, hang on a second here. Let's check out if there's been any new recent updates on the Proud Boys trial, because we may not have that tomorrow. Look here. Wow, look at this. March 22nd, this just came skidding in here from the judge. In light of the defendant's motion to compel, the one that we just read, the government's deadline is extended to 1 p.m. tomorrow, so not 9 a.m. It is further ordered that the jury trial scheduled for tomorrow is converted to a motions hearing at 3 p.m. Trial will resume on Friday, March 24th. Signed by Judge Kelly. All right. So tomorrow we're going to argue over that allegation. That's going to be spicy and juicy and fun. So we'll come back tomorrow and check that out. So that is going to be very interesting. Let's see what else is going on over on Twitter. And of course, you can follow me at Rob Govea ESQ. We're trying to zoom in on the chat and see who is in the house over there. Nope, not that video. We got 3 viewers on Twitter, out of control. Who is the first one? Says, Paul Mino says, it's not just the shirts. It's not just the smart legal analysis. It's also your girthful sense of humor. Always a chuckle or 3 in your broadcast. Thanks. Thanks, Paul. And I appreciate you being here. You also keep it fun and lively. This one says, I work for the FBI. I'm not in the FBI. I work for the FBI. I'm not in the FBI. From Paul. Good to see you, Paul. Brenda's here, says, hey, still not in jail. Danny McWilliams was on. Oh, wow. Okay. So S. Gannon is sharing this one. Says, more information since you started your stream. Look at this. Benny Johnson sharing this. New bombshell document destroys the Manhattan's DA case against Trump. 2008 letter from Cohen's lawyer declares Cohen used his own personal funds to pay Stormy. Oh, gosh, that's perfect. We'll read this one tomorrow as well. I'm writing on behalf of my client. In a private transaction, Mr. Cohen used his own personal funds to facilitate a payment. Neither the Trump org nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction, and they didn't reimburse him either. Contrary to the allegations, which are entirely speculative, neither Mr. Cohen, look at this, sincerely counsel for Michael Cohen. This dude is the worst liar ever. Holy moly. What an explosive little deal there. Thank you for that one. We'll come back. We'll hit that one tomorrow when there's more to talk about. But good to see you. Thank you for flagging that for us. Yeah, somebody was sharing. This is the case against Donald Trump right here. You can see this one. Oh yeah, that's Michael Cohen who just wrecked the case. So those are from our friends over on Twitter, on Rumble, all across the interwebs. And we're grateful to see everybody out there. We also had some very nice tips come in from our friends on Locals. And let's say hello to our Locals friends before we wrap it up and go over to our after party. Here, Facts Matter says, I'm in the Bahamas for vacay, and the taxi driver said gas is $6.50 because of Putin's war. God help us. In the Bahamas, $6.50? Sounds expensive. Have fun over there in the Bahamas. Facts Matter. Amazing. G-Gum says, hey, Rob, still working, and so just lurking. Sorry, no gifts today. You don't have to, no apologies, G-Gum. Your presence here is all we need. And GDL is here, says, good stuff. Thanks, GDL. All right, we are going over to Locals for our after party. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to join as in the Telegram group so that we can carry on our conversation. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going to leave it there. One more reminder, the best place to find us for extra content, for extra community, to go deeper with the work that we're doing here, go to watchingthewatchers.locals.com and join up. You'll also get access to our private Telegram group. Don't forget about fieldofgreens.com. It's great to get your greens in every single day. Be healthy, be nutritious, lose weight the healthy way, feel energized, and remember, the vegetables want to be eaten. That's why they're here. They grow out of the ground and they look all happy and bouncing around like that so that you stay healthy. Also want to shout out my former law firm, our friends over at the R&R Law Group. They're available at rrlawaz.com, or you can call them at 480-787-0394. They help good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope. Also, thank you to the mods who mod down the fort for us. Our friends Vientikis Prime, K Bean, we got Just Cause, Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Geo, Zach Nichols, John Allen, and our Meme Smiths, Sleepy Dog Lee, and G-Gum Gigum. Helping to keep the show nice and orderly and on the tracks. We're grateful for all of your help. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. Members will be back here in the morning. My friends will be back to cover whatever happens with Trump, whatever's going on with the Proud Boys. We hope to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Have a tremendous evening, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.